This is a picture, and I have to apologize that I'm a little bit elementary here, because when I gave this, or put this together, I was invited to go to a school, a private school, and give the presentation. It was kindergartners. So I had to make it pretty simple. So that's what we have here is simple. But this is the Philippines, and I've been working for 40 years. 1986 was the first year I went over there. So I've been going there every year, with the exception of the COVID years. I think there was 2 years I didn't get to go. But I got to thinking this year, you know, Moses was only with the people for 40 years. And I thought, well, I can't outdo Moses, so I'm just going to stay with us for 40 years. And I've turned it over to 4 guys that I really have a lot of confidence in. Brother Sean Hansen, I think most of you know him. And then Chris Klein, who is the nephew of Darrell Klein, who went with me the first year, 40 years ago. And Jacob Johnson, who is the grandson of Jerry Johnson. And then, of course, Carson Lorden, who is the son of Kim and James, who you all know them. So I've got it in good hands. I'm still overseeing a lot of it and doing the financing part of it, collecting money and sending money and so forth. So I'll still be involved in that, but I can do that at home because the trip is killing me. Well, we have here the Philippines, and what we have is 3 different areas. You have, of course, up here, the island of Luzon. You have down here, of course, the island of Mindanao. And all these islands in here are considered the Visayan Islands. So the Philippines is broken up into 3 categories. We have churches in all 3. We counted them up this time. We have about 150. That's amazing, really, since 1986. 1986, we started with 15. So we've grown from 15 to 150 on these islands. And it's largely because of people like you who have been able to donate money. But you know, those men over there have to work, and they have to have a means to be able to do that, and they've done a good job. I can't say that it's 100% perfect. You know, humanity is humanity, and we've had those who have taken us and those who have frauded us and so forth. But by and large, it's been a great work. So I have that island, and just to show you where the Philippines is in the world. This little green spot right here is the Philippines, below China, and you know, you got Japan and all of that in here. And you remember when your mom used to say, when you dug a hole in the backyard, you're going to dig a hole to China? That's exactly the truth, because the opposite side of this is the United States. And so the Philippines is halfway around the world. This shows where it is. So, I put in here some facts because these young kids, I thought they would be interested, but it's been interesting to me to search the facts about the Philippines. There's 7,641 islands composing the Philippines. 7,600 islands. There is 170 different languages in the Philippines. Many of them are merely dialects. But the main dialect that we deal with is called Ilocano. It's not a language. If you were to go to try to, you know, do a study and learn how to speak Ilocano, it's not out there because it's just a dialect. Tagalog is the language that the Philippines uses down here. Tagalog is the national language, but you have Cebuano, Ilocano, and others are prominently used. This is what makes the Philippines so diverse and so hard sometimes even to preach the gospel. The great thing is that since 1986, English has become a second language, and that helps tremendously. We still have to preach with an interpreter because you have old folks and you have young folks that haven't learned the English yet. But by and large, most people can understand it. And so it's just been a wonderful thing to be able to deal. Their languages is a combination of the languages of the world. Their languages are a combination of Spanish, American, Chinese, and Southeastern Asia. Tagalog is a combination of all of that. For instance, in Ilocano, the numbering system is Spanish. If you know anything in Spanish number, who knows the strings?
Cuatro.
Okay. So in Ilocano, their numbers is that. So you would say chapter, well, in fact, the books of their Bible are Spanish. Marcus, Lucas, Juan. Just the same thing that would be in the Spanish Bible, their Bible is Spanish. But the Ilocano, the rest of it, some of it is Spanish, some of it's, kind of American, it's said in many other things. And the thing about their language, which makes it hard to interpret, is that the language is reversed. I think like Spanish is, in fact. In other words, the verb or whatever comes at the end, or the noun comes at the end. And just to show you the difference in John 3:16, I'm sure all of you can quote that. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. God is the first verse in that verse. In the Ilocano Bible, it's the last word. Their structure of their sentence is different. That makes it difficult for our interpreters, because they hear us saying it in our vocabulary of the English, in the structure of the English language, but they got to turn it around. Not only, change the words, they have to turn it around so that the people can understand it in their language. There are 8 major indigenous language. By this, the word and I can't hardly say it, indigenous, this is the poor people of the Philippines. This is the original people of the Philippines, and they are kind of like the American Indians. The American Indians, the Choctaw, the Cherokee, the Shawnee, and every one of those had their own language. And that is the original American language. Well, there's still 8 of those left in the Philippines that are the original language, and it's different from Tagalog, it's different from Ilocano and anything else. So there's 8 different ones. They are usually considered very, very poor people, the indigenous people are. Now, in the Philippines, because there's so many different languages, it's very difficult to be able to publish Bibles in everybody's language. But the Wycliffe Bible Society, I'm sure that you've heard of that, the Wycliffe Bible Society, they work very hard to get all of these people in the Philippines to have a language. I don't know if you know this or not, but there's still at least 2,000 languages in the world that doesn't have a Bible. Still, today, in 2026, there's over 2,000 languages that don't even have a Bible. So the Wycliffe Bible Society is over there. We went to their office one day. Way up north, the very far north as you can go on that map in Luzon, we would have to get on a boat, a rowboat, kind of like a canoe with outriggers on, and go out in the ocean and go out here and around the Horn and come back in. Either that, or you could walk up over the mountains for 2 days and get covered with lice and mosquitoes and everything else. So I wasn't going to do that. So we thought, and the ocean was too rough. If the ocean was rough, you couldn't get on this canoe and go out there and go around. So we thought they had an airport over there in this little village, surprisingly. And the Wycliffe Bible Society was working in that little village. It's far from anything, but they were working to translate the Bible in their language. So we went to the Wycliffe Bible Society, this is back in the 90s. We went there and they had an airplane. And we thought we would hire them to take us in, because we had a church there. They'd take us in and we could work with the church, and then they'd fly us back out. They would have done it, except that their airplane wasn't working. So I didn't want to fly in a broken airplane either. And so we never did get to go. I've never gone to that place, but the church is there. I understand it's going very well. But the Wycliffe Bible Society was in there because they were trying to translate the Bible into their language. And they said it takes 13 years to do that. 13 years of hard work. What they do is they send families into that area. They learn the language, first of all, because every language, the word has a special meaning, and so because of that, you have to learn their language, first of all, to know how to interpret the Bible or the Greek or the Hebrew into that language. 13 years. They were about to wrap it up there, and so now they have a Bible, I suppose, that's in their language. This is what's difficult about the Philippines because of the many languages. The island of Luzon is composed of what they call provinces. We call them states here in America. These are provinces. The province that we work in is Quirino, Isabela, Cagayan, Apayao, Kalinga, Abra, and Pangasinan, and Tarlac. And then, of course, down here in the Manila area, there's several little provinces down there. So that's the area we work in, Luzon. It's about from Manila to here and back is about 2,500 miles. If you go the journey, they only got one major road that goes all the way up through here and around and back down. Just only one road you can travel on. And it takes several days. In fact, it takes probably a week or more to do that. We've done it many times. We're going to make that whole trip around. So there's 38 provinces in Luzon. Mindanao has 28 provinces. The provinces we work here is Bukidnon, Davao del Norte, the Davao area, they call this Davao South, Cotabato, down in Davao del Sur, South Cotabato, and that's the areas that we work. The rest of these over here are heavily composed of Muslim. So we don't get a chance to go over in this area very much because they're basically all Muslim over there. I think maybe I've told you this last year. You know, one of the interesting things that happened here in Maguindanao is heavily Muslim. And there we had a church right there in the middle of it, and I never got to go there because they wouldn't let us go. It was too dangerous. Well, 2 years ago, they said, well, we're going to go there and hold a meeting. I said, what changed? He said, well, they've loosened up a little. They're a little more friendly. And so we went there and we held a service there in Maguindanao. And it was a little church building, bamboo sides, and of course it had a metal roof on, but just very simple. And the leader, the captain of that community, they have their system of government is very much like ours. You have, of course, a president, vice president, but in these provinces you have states, and you have state government, then you have county government, just like we have here in the United States. So these little towns have their councilman and their I guess mayor, maybe what he's called. He's a Muslim, and he's sitting right there in the church building, and I don't even know him. I believe we preach just like we normally would. Afterwards, they said he wants to talk to you, and I thought, oh, we're in trouble. so we went out, and we got to talk to him. He said, hey, he said, I'm a Muslim in body, but he said, I'm a Christian in spirit. I don't know how you be that way. But he said, here's what we want to do. He said, I'm the captain of this barrio and this little village. He said, and off to the side of our church building was a piece of empty ground. He said, and we're going to give you that ground. The captain, he had the authority to do that. He said, we're going to give you that ground, and we want you to build a church building, a nice church building on it. I thought this was a trick, because once we get it built, they're going to take it. And so I made sure the brethren procured the proper paperwork, the title, the deed, and all of that, and make sure that there's no way out of this thing. And so we built the building. And it's been there for now 2 or 3 years and just thriving. And so the Muslims in that area at least wanted us to be there. I don't quite understand that, but you wonder what's going to happen if the man changes and another captain come in that hates Christianity, but we still have it. There is, of course, the 16 provinces of all the islands. This is where a lot of your thousands of islands come in because there's little wee ones all the way through this thing. We have one down here in Bohol. I guess it's about the only church we have down in this little island. And we work on there with those brethren. The money in the Philippines, I call it monopoly money. Because it's all different colors and it's just real thin and real cheap looking, And so you have when you go to the bank or at the airport, you get money changed, you get like, $50,000 bills. And we think you're really rich. You're not rich. Because that's only worth $17.50. And it goes down from there. If you've got a $500 bill, it's only $8.75. A $200 is $3.50. $100's on $1.75. So you see, you have to, in your mind, when you buy something over there, calculate all of that. Right now, the rate is 60 to 1, which is a good rate. In other words, when I send $100 to someone over there, they get 60,000 pesos. Which is not bad. I mean, you can buy a lot of rice for 60,000 pesos. So the money rate is still pretty good. These were the guys that was with us this year on this trip. You have Jacob Johnson, Chris Klein, Seth Henson. I don't know if you folks know Seth or not. He's quite a character. And then myself, I was on a cane by this time. When I went with a walker. I had to go on the airplane with a walker. It was kind of nice because, they let the invalids on first, So I got to go on first every one of those flights over there. I got to where I threw away the walker and had the cane. My meniscus had torn in my knee. And Sean, and then these two guys, Clyde Kruger and Brother Moses Ramsamy, are from South Africa. And we invited them there because they worked with us in India and different places. And that's where I'm going in a couple of weeks. I'll be going to Brother Clyde's congregation in Cape Town. And then I'll be going to Brother Moses' congregation up in Durban. The church up in Durban, you'll notice he's Indian. And they are Indian by nature. They're just a different, not, I don't want to say different class of people. They have different, what would you say, cultures. Maybe that's the best word to use. They have a different culture. And their food is just, it's just terrible, folks. I love this food. I'm being recorded today. But it's good food, but it's so hot. You know, they have the spices to it and so forth, and the spices are just, it's more than I can handle sometimes. So that's the group that went with us. Here we are lined up. We are in this group here, and then here are all the preachers that are traveling with us on this day. So we have a lot of men with us as we go about from place to place. And this is again is us here. Here we are at the end of our journey. The whole journey, Brother Noli and his wife Elizabeth, Brother June August and his wife, they were with us. And then we had Brother Marshall here, and they traveled with us the whole journey this time. And it's always good to have them, you know, to be able to interpret for us and be able to keep us from danger and going where we shouldn't be going. They also had this time, this is Michael Ashlock from the Belton, Texas congregation. He married one of the girls over there, and they have 3 children. So he met up with us at the airport, and they traveled with us some over there as well. I just performed a wedding 2 weeks ago of Brother Levi Hansen. That's Sean's oldest boy. He married a Filipino. So I have been responsible for 3 Filipino marriages. I hope they hold on, or I'll have a bad record. But we've introduced these guys, of course, to these Filipinos. Well, we went to our first congregation, and we got behind this jeepney here, and this is what you'll see all the time going down the road. You know, the jeepney, and they got people hanging on the back and kids on the top, and you know, there's no such thing as seat belts and things like this. And this is what it would look like. We would call this a school bus. These kids are going to go to school. Another school bus is this right here. There's thousands and literally hundreds of thousands of these. They're called tricycles. It's about a 110 or 120 Yamaha, and then you can put. I've seen actually about 12, 15 people come out of one of these things because they're small people. The only thing is when you put somebody in there like Seth, and you put Jacob on the back, you're not going to get many more people in there. But they decided they were going to go for a ride, and so here's Seth, and Seth is a big boy. So that's the form of transportation. Okay, breakfast. This is breakfast at Brother Noah's. Now this wouldn't be the way it always is, because I'm sure that most of the time all they eat is a bowl of rice. But they prepare for us, and we have rice. We have a soup here that's kind of like an egg drop soup. It's just delicious. It's chicken flavored. I take that, put my rice in there, make me rice soup. And then you have eggs with tomatoes fried in it. You have lumpia here, which are just wonderful. They're like a spring roll. You know, they got meat in there and you fry it up. It's really good. And always rice, fried chicken for breakfast usually. And so we eat good, at least at Brother Noli's house. Every day before we start out, we would gather together. It was still dark outside. We would gather together and have a devotion. And we'd read a passage of Scripture, and then we would have prayer for our safety throughout the day. That's what we're doing here. We're gathering together. We're going to start today. We'll go, and we will go maybe about 2, 3, 4 places. Sometimes it's 4. Most of the time it's 3. So it's a constant going every day, traveling, hours and miles to get to a certain point, and then preaching, and of course they always have something to eat. And that's the part that now is getting me down, is that constant going and no relaxation. We went to our first congregation, and the pictures that I'm going to show you here today are pictures of churches that have been in existence for 30 to 40 years. They're some of the first that we traveled to, and some of the first that we met. This was one of them here in Albany. This congregation here, the preacher here in this area that works in this area, he's been dead for many, many years. But the church continues on. It wasn't looking too good. It was kind of shabby, so we gave them some money to buy paint. The next congregation is on up the road, and they took a little pride in their church building here with their color selection on the inside, in front of above the pulpit. This is a passage of scripture. I can't read it because it's in Ilocano, but it was really a neat little place. The next congregation we went to was Bellicombe. This congregation is one of my favorites. Bellicombe, it was started just off to the side of this church building. There was no church building here, but there was a little grassy knoll. And Brother Clark Carlo and I went there, and we pioneered. They call it pioneer. We pioneered that meeting. There was not a church in this community. We went there one night, we preached the gospel, we baptized 7 people, and this is what it is today. And so these 7 people grew and developed, and they continue to promote the word. They've added on to this church building. It was there, and they extended it. It gets pretty crowded sometimes in there, but it's kind of neat to be close together and have that commonality. So I love this little congregation. I remember one time in this little town, they had a basketball court down in the heart of town. They had a basketball court. And so we went down there and we announced that we was going to have a gospel meeting. And we went down there, and there was no electricity. We just had to kind of wing it. And we preached there, and there had to have been over 200 people there. They were up on the hillsides and in the grass and all over the place. That's how it was back in the early 80s when you could go, or the late 80s when you could go and just get a good crowd of people out. Another congregation that we built years ago is this one right here, Sullivan, Isabella. This crowd right here is the number of people that fit in that little building. They can't even get in. They stand on the outside. They stand at the windows. And when they have communion, they pass it all around and so forth. They want to build a new church building. In fact, they've started it right here, but it's been kind of a painful thing to me because I can't support this. We would like for them to have a building, but they overestimated their building. They have an engineer in this church, and an engineer, I think, wants to make a name for himself. So you see the footers here? You see how big these footers are? And the columns? And it was going to be a magnificent building. And they thought that they could start this, and when we got there, they would appeal to us and we would give them the money to finish it. That's not the way we work. We want to help, but we want you to build a building that is proper, fitting for the occasion and so forth. And so we have kind of drug our feet on this. I don't know where they are now at this point, but they just overestimated. It was going to cost $50,000 to build this building. And we could build them all day long at Mindanao for $2,500. So you see, it's a little hard for me to give up $50,000 when I could build dozens of them in Mindanao for the same price. And so we've kind of halted on that one there. This one here is a nice building. This is the church at Kauai. Look at this crowd that we had. Of course, some of these were visitors, but the congregation here. Now, we built this building, but we didn't build it looking like this. The church has taken the initiative to paint and to put tile in the floor. That's a beautiful tile, and to do the ceiling up here. They've took the initiative to do that. That's what we want the churches to do. We're willing to help, but we expect you as a congregation to step in and share your part of the expenses as well. And so we've tried to do that all along. This is a new one that's being built right here. In fact, this was built within the last few years. This is the congregation. Every picture he sends me a picture every week. This is how many people attend his service. They've done a tremendous job in this part of the country right here. It's called Core Shelter. Now, it looked like this when we were there. We gave them money to put the stucco all around and on the inside and put windows and doors in it, so it looks a little better now than it does right here. The church at San Antonio, this is an old one. It's been there for many, many years. This was the crowd we had that day. There is, of course, the church at Asinon, Isabella. Now, here again, there were 3 incidents that happened that we had to kind of stop and say, wait a minute, you're doing things the wrong way here. They wrote me, inside this building was a church building. And the church building it had been built for many, many years, and the termites was eating the wooden post, and they wrote me and said, we need to, repair this. And they gave me an estimate. And so I sent the money for that estimate to repair this church building, because it was sufficient. It was big enough for the congregation. This congregation right here was big enough for them. But no, the preacher decided we needed a little bigger church building. So they built this building around the building is in there. They left the building in there so that they could worship, but they built this one around it. And then when they got that, then they went in and tore the old one down. You know what they did? They wrote me, we need more money because we decided we're going to do something else. Well, I'm not going to do that, you know. I don't want to be the Lord over this thing, but I am a protector of the Lord's money. And I don't believe in wasting the Lord's money. And if you tell me that it's going to be repaired, I will help you repair that. If you tell me you want to build a building, it would have been considered. But they didn't do that. They went beyond and did it on their own. So I don't know where that stands right now. This congregation here is at Dumont. This was the first congregation that I went to in 1986. This is a picture. Sister Angelita. She had a picture of that time. If you will notice, there's two people in here that are taller than the rest. That's me and Brother Darrell Klein. And we were there that year in 1986, and this was the congregation. It was a very little bamboo building that they had at that time. They've built two buildings since that time. Now they've ended up with this one here on the same spot. But Angelina was a wonderful, she's still alive. She's a wonderful worker. She was that maternal mother of all this community. And so she had an influence over everybody in that time. And we're the only religion in that time. So she's done a tremendous job. I give credit to her. And that church continues to be faithful. Here we are in Rojas. Rojas that's Brother Loreto Pedrez's home congregation. He's the one that invited this over in 1986. This is the church at San Mateo. It's a very nice building. And they continue, of course, to serve and continue to grow as well. This is a new congregation that has come over to our brotherhood. And so we have built a little building there. And I think we have sent money already to make sure that the windows and doors are in and things like that. So then we went to Capitol Crest. Now, Capitol Crest, in this area, there's 5 congregations. But we didn't have time to go to all 5, so we had them meet here in this congregation here. So we had a good crowd that day. And then we have Big Santa Thomas. This is Brother Jasper Pedrez. This is up in northern Isabella. He's got a nice place here. He has taken care of it. He makes it presentable. He's kept it painted and kept it clean. Notice we got a few coals in here that come to church with us. So we have a few dogs that attend services every once in a while over there. I don't think those are service dogs. They're just wanting the cool of the concrete. And then we went to Malie. The girl that I just married to Levi Hansen came from this congregation right here. The preacher of this congregation now is in Hawaii working. And they were, of course, at the wedding the other day in Texas. But they're a very, very wonderful group of people. The church at Anau. This is an interesting story here. We had a church at Anau years ago, a church building. We actually, I don't know, it was just a simple little building, wouldn't have cost much to build. But the preacher there was just lazy, and he didn't do anything. And so finally it crumbled. In fact, he went off, he left the church and everything. So we just thought that there was no hope in Anau. But Jasper Pedrez went back, and there was a few members left in Anau that wanted to worship. So for the last 2 years, I've been sending $100 every 2 months so that they can rent a place to worship in this town. The building's not there anymore. So I've been sending that. It's $50 a month to be able to rent, for the whole month a place to worship. And it's in this fellow's home here. It's in the not right here, but on the other side is this little living room, and he opens it up for the church. They were not members of the church. He just rents the little room from them. Well, while we're there, the man of this house and the wife of this house and the son of this couple were baptized. After all these years that the church had been meeting in their home, they were baptized. And it was quite interesting because the wife had had a stroke, and of course they're up in years. I mean, it doesn't look like it here, but they're probably in, their 70s. That's up in years, I think. But anyway, so the wife is in this wheelchair. She can't even walk. And we had to go through a tobacco field. You know how a field is rough and so forth. He had to take that wheelchair, and he wouldn't let anybody help him. He was an older man, and he would not let anybody help him. He took his wife over there to where the river was. We wheeled her out in that wheelchair and then baptized her in that water. That's tremendous faith right there. And a lot of good work has come because of the people worshiping, of course, in their little home. We left there and went to San Francisco, Tabuk, Kalinga, and we had 28 baptisms at one time. This is them lined up right here to be baptized. The brother up there is doing a tremendous job. He has 3 congregations, and they were represented here. But he has 3 congregations scattered about. One of them was way out in the mountains. And so we had these 28 baptisms. And this congregation has been there again for many years. This was that congregation that was way out in the mountains. I mean, we drove, and kind of like Kentucky hills, you know, you just got all these crooked bends and hills and so forth. We get out there, we have just a real nice service out there with these people. All right, I'm going to give you folks an opportunity for a business adventure. If you're looking for a good business adventure, this is it right here. You remember the days of the emu and the ostriches? Several years ago, people would pay $10,000 for a pair of ostriches or emus. You remember that? I'm going to get you on the ground floor right here. Tabuk City is known for its coffee. It's known for its coffee. And they have coffee beans all over. This coffee right here, the Kalinga blend, is called Civet. And you can look it up on the internet if you want to. Civet is a cat. And this is cat dung coffee. I'm not kidding you. You can't make stuff up like this. Cat dung coffee. They feed the beans to the civet cat. The civet cat is the only one that does it. That's why I'm telling you, I'm putting you in on the ground floor. You need to buy you a pair of civet cats. Because if you could reproduce them, this is the up-and-coming thing. This is it. I lost my chance when I first went to the Philippines. They had the cell phone 5 years before we had it. 5 years. Because they knew that Nokia knew that if they started that in the United States, they had a hard way to go because everybody had a landline. We don't need the cell phone. But they went to the Philippines, they went to Africa, they went to the third world countries, and they established this cell phone system. 5 years before we ever had it. If I'd have been smart enough, I'd have bought into Nokia and I'd be a rich man right now. If I was smart enough, I'm not that smart yet, but if I was smart enough, I'd buy me some civet cats. Because as crazy as this sounds, this is one of the most popular countries in a lot of the rich countries in the world, or coffees in the rich countries in the world. It sells for $80 to $100 a cup of coffee. I mean, how could people be so ignorant, really? But that's true. You look it up, it's there. And you know, what they do, the cat eats the beans, and it goes through their digestion system, and it comes back out. Now, they say it takes away it takes away I don't know what it takes away. But I can only imagine what it adds. But
brother, what's the value price?
Your soul. Yeah, we found that out. We just couldn't. It was unbelievable.
I gotta get you some.
In fact, if you want to cut, Brother Seth bought some with beans on. He'll fix you right up. We left there, and we had to stay there that night. We didn't intend to stay there. We had to go on up through the mountains, and they said you can't go at night because it's dangerous and the roads are bad. But this is what we found when we left Tabuk City. These roads were like this. They've been landslides, down the mountains. And so we don't know when our van going across there. We didn't know how far that was dug out in there, but we kept on going and made it safely across. We finally ended up in Salvation up there. We were saved, Salvation of Bio, and we had a good service there at that congregation. Again, we gave them money so that they could paint this building, make it look a little more attractive. We went that Sunday morning to Santa Marcela, Ohio. This congregation here, this church building, was built by the government. Brother Kelly Banau, he is head of the indigent people in that part of the country, and they have a government organization for those people. These are people that are poor. They're the old, original people, and he's the president of that, I guess, whatever it is they have there. So they gave him money to build this church building. And they call it, of course, the Church of Christ, but they just wanted, something for the people to come to. Off to the side was kind of a little building over there that had tables and stuff. They have their get-togethers and things, and so it was a very nice setting. This is the church at Avila. Again, the paint's been wearing off, so we give them money to do that and to put windows in. This is Penelope Kirby. While we were there, the rain was coming down just like it is out there now. It was coming down and the raindrops was falling on us in the church building, so we gave money to put a roof on for them. And these are just simple things that you find when you go there. This church building was started by Brother Cosme Battaglia. This looks like a brick building, but it's just a stucco painted like brick. He went in there and very meticulously painted these bricks on the front of this building. It looks like an attractive building. It's amazing what a little bit of paint will do. And we had a service there in that congregation. The church at Rosa Avila. We built this building several years ago, and it's out in the middle of nowhere, actually, in the country, and they just continue to thrive. Now remember, all of these are just in Luzon. There's stories like this many of them down in Mindanao. The church at Balwal. While we were there that week, we had 2 of our preachers die. Both of them were 60 years old. And a week before that, we had another one die in this vicinity right here. He was 60 years old. So when you lose 3 preachers that fast, then it's quite a devastation. And so the brother here, he had just passed away. So it was kind of a sad thing, but we got to talk and visit, of course, with the widow, and I think she appreciated that. This is another congregation. We bought this off of Church of God, I believe it was years ago. And again, a lot of these are not maintained like I would like to see them. A little paint would go a long way. And we just encourage them to do that. This is the church at Santa Ana. I don't know what was happening here. They give me a big old chair to sit in, but I wasn't, I guess, at ease very well. My knee was really bothering me. But this congregation, this is where one of the preachers who was 69. There's 3 churches now without a preacher up there. This is a problem in the Philippines. We've relied on these preachers, but they have not invested their knowledge into the younger generation to come on. And so we're turning that around. Sean is actively involved in that, where we believe that, leadership needs to be established and men taught to be able to teach the congregation. Without that, you don't have a congregation. And so we have young men that they're training to be able to do that. This congregation here, it was amazing. It's a little church building, but I would step out every once in a while. There's people standing all the way around on the outside just to hear the gospel. And so we had a good service there with them. We're always eating, And so here's Brother Seth. This is down where we was at one point, and we just enjoyed the food. I've got to enjoy it. This is, I don't know what you call it. This is little fishes. And they still got the eyeballs and the mouth of the teeth. I guess you'd call it sardines that aren't in a sardine can. But they love these. Now, if you're very far from the ocean, you don't want to eat this, because you know that it's been sitting out in the hot sun at some, a marketplace. So we don't eat that. This is a vegetable thing that they do, but they call it sour soup. And we don't eat it because it's got something in there that's just nasty. You just eat it. It's really bad. Or shrimp. Now, wouldn't it be nice if you could sit down at a restaurant and have that plate of shrimp in front of you? If you like shrimp. But we can't eat it. It's too far from the ocean. And so, this has been sitting out in the hot sun, no refrigeration for days, and so you don't want to eat that. Oh, you can eat this though, because they just fried it. They just caught it and they came right off of the oven, or not oven, but right off of the fire, fried chicken. Brother Seth ordered, he thought he could eat a double hamburger. I wish I could have put this in front of him and had you seen how high this thing was. A double hamburger. He bit into it, he said, I don't think it's hamburger. He said, I don't know what it is, but he said, it's not hamburger. But he ate it. And this was, we was at a motel for breakfast one morning, they had waffles on top. I could eat a waffle. And they were really good. All right, if you want to sing over there, this is the most popular book they use. It's called Hymnario Christiano, Ilocano. That's the Ilocano language. You get them a book with notes in it, they don't know how to sing. They don't know how to sing. But they know these songs, and they know the tune, and they get the tune almost on all the time. And they're good, you know, they sound good. But it's difficult for us because we know the tune, but without the English words, I can't sing sometimes. And then there's songs that I do know that I'm able to sing, but they use no notes in their songbooks. I'm always interested in funerals because I used to work for a funeral home. This is a cemetery. It's like a little village. The reason is because everybody's buried on top of the ground, so they build a house over there. It's right next to the ocean, and if you bury down, you're going to come back up. So they put them on top, and then they'll build a little house over them. And if you are rich, you get to ride in this out to the cemetery. Now, I imagine years ago they had horses pulling this thing. Now they have a Ford Bronco pulling it. But, or it was one of the, but anyway, I thought this was kind of neat, that little hearse. This is one of the brethren live in this home. The church is right here, and one of the brethren live in this home right here. So many of the homes still look like this, and that's what they live in. Up in here was a rod. Of course, we're right on the ocean, so we have a lot of, this is that boat that I'm talking about, the canoe you go out on the ocean with all of these outriggers on. And you still don't want to be in fierce waters. At this church, but this is connected to the corner of the church, there was this monkey they had tied up there. And he loved us because we'd throw him a pack of crackers and he knew how to open that thing and eat those crackers. You throw him a bottle of water, he knew how to take the cap off and drink that water. Now, the Philippines used to have monkeys everywhere. They just had a lot of monkeys. But in a country where there's no conservation rules, they ate them all. Really, they ate all the monkeys, and there's no wild monkeys like whatever monkeys there are, tame ones like this right here. But you see, they just eliminated it. Kind of like the buffalo, out west, they finally had to step in and say what was left, but they just killed them off, and that's what they did with the monkeys. They also established goats in the Philippines about 1990 to 2000. They figured out that goats would be good because they got a lot of green grass around and stuff, but they also like the flowers. So here he is, he's eating the flowers here, and you'll see a lot of goats running around. Philippines, very diverse. You've got the mountains, you have the rivers, you have the ocean. It's a very diverse part of the world, and that is the last song. So, if you have any questions, I would like to answer them, but I thank you for listening. It's been a journey. It's been a wonderful journey for me. I'm glad that I've been able to be a part of it. The fact that we have baptized thousands and thousands of people has been a blessing to me. Even if I have just a little part of that, just a week or just a sermon, maybe to encourage those people, it's been a blessing to me. So I really appreciate the opportunity to do that.
I have a picture of the cat.
If you look it up on the internet, it's got long ears, I know that.
What, and what's it called?
C-I-V-E-T.
C-I-V-E-T.
Yeah, you look it up, it's there.
I will be looking that up.
Looking for what?
I ain't got to sign up. I'll be selling coffees for $8 a cup.
The word,
$8 a cup.
the word I was thinking of was acidity. They said it takes the acidity out of the coffee. I think I'd rather have the acidity.
But sure,